Please rise for our national anthem.
You can see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Dr. Nancy Smith, Professor and Dean of the School of Social Work, will officially open the ceremony.
Thank you. Provost Zukoski, distinguished guests, the graduates, candidates for the degrees, the faculty, the staff, and the families and friends of graduates and candidates are assembled. I hereby declare this commencement of the University at Buffalo School of Social Work to be open. Join me in a round of applause for all the soon-to-be graduates. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the platform party, beginning in the front row on my right, with Laura Lewis, Robert Keefe, Lena Bei Chung, Sue Green, Denise Krause, Melinda Saran of the School of Law, University at Buffalo Provost Charles Zukoski, this year's distinguished guest speaker, Amy Fleischauer, Catherine Dulmus, Rita Andolina, and Annette Samanchian-Jones. In the second row, Irene Mucci, Uksu Kim, Gretchen Ely, Dana Horn, Susan Smith of the College of Arts and Sciences, Tom Nahiski, Lisa Butler, Kathleen Cost, Deborah Waldrop, Barbara Rittner, and Hillary Weaver. The third row, Patricia Logan Green, Christopher St. Ville, Marjorie Courtley, Catherine Kendall, Feng Zhang of the School of Management, Kimberly Kreitis of the School of Public Health and Health Professions, Peter Sabota, Peter, what have you been up to? Okay, Peter Sabota. Luann Back, Elizabeth Bowen, another one, Isak Kim, Charles Sims, and Philomena Critelli. The fourth row, Diane Elsie, Marsha Schwam-Harris, Shanta Murshid, Kelly Patterson, Noelle St. Ville. The class of 2017 GSA officers, Connor Walters, Victoria Radar, Sarah Alpert, PhD candidate Rebecca Rulin-Palmentier, and Anahita Ball, and Mickey Spurlick. I can see I'll have a lot of follow-up after this commencement. Congratulations to you all, to students who've done the hard work of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 years, right, depending on whether you've had to take time off. Family members who've supported you along the way. And your friends who've also supported you along the way. Being a social worker is not just what you do, it's how you see, understand, and relate to the world. Really, it's who you are. It's who we are. I recently met an alumna who was apologetic to me because she was working as a publisher of a community-focused magazine, and she said, "I'm not working as a social worker." I told her she had no need to apologize, that she was bringing her social work skills to that job, and that we need people in all types of jobs, and that I think there are many jobs and career paths that a social work degree prepares you for. As you move out into the world with your hard-earned graduate degree, many of you will be in roles that have social work titles, and I know you will claim that title with pride. For those of you who are in roles where there is not a title called social worker, we know you'll also show the same pride in introducing yourself as one. Remember, whenever you talk about what you do, whatever path is in your future, therapist, advocate, community organizer, policy analyst, CEO, lawyer, parent, say with pride, "I am a social worker." You know the misperceptions people have about the profession. As a professional colleague, you can join us in making clear the value of who we are and what we do. Last year across the United States, we graduated 25,000 MSWs. And yes, there's jobs out there. If every one of you take pride in identifying yourself as a social worker, we can change how people understand social work. We've done our best to prepare you for the tough work that's ahead in a complex and turbulent world with suffering and injustice all around. As University at Buffalo School of Social Work alumni, you are the face of this school, the university, and the profession to the entire world. Know that we are passionate about you, who you are, what you know, what you have already done, and what you're able to do, and what we know you will do in the future. So I stand here as an educator, trauma therapist, scholar, leader, and most important, social worker, to welcome you as colleagues to our great profession. We are social workers. Thank you. It's with great pleasure that I introduce Dr. Charles Zukoski, who's this year's degree conferrer and the University at Buffalo's distinguished provost. Provost Zukoski will make a few brief comments.
Well, good morning. I'm very pleased to be here today to celebrate the 2017 School of Social Work commencement. I am very thrilled to be here with you, our graduates, with your family, with your friends, with the university community. We are here to recognize your exceptional achievements and eagerly anticipate all that you will accomplish as you go out into the future. As one of the nation's leading public research universities, UB has a mission of creating new knowledge and communicating this knowledge to you, our graduates, the next generation of leaders, professionals, teachers, citizens, and social workers. We take seriously our responsibility to improve the human condition through our scholarship, through our clinical care, and through our engagement. Graduates, as UB students, you have learned from the most respected thought leaders and practitioners in social work, and you have been partners in the process of seeking and using new knowledge and understanding to build a better world. You have developed deep domain knowledge in the field of social work by working with a vibrant and diverse community of scholars, educators, and practitioners. Your knowledge has been enriched by trauma-informed care, human rights perspectives, and these lead to the context of how you will work with the individuals and the communities that you're going to go out into. You have taken advantage of the faculty-led and individual research opportunities offered by our top-ranked School of Social Work faculty, and this research has helped shape the way that society and universities understand and respond to community needs. You have improved people's lives in our local and international communities through field education that has allowed you to put your knowledge into practice. You have worked hard. You have gained exposure to ideas, culture, history, science, and technologies, and had meaningful interactions with your peers and professors. These are the experiences that shape your unique perspective and way of approaching the world. It is this distinctive combination of classroom, field learning, and out-of-class experiences that enable you to develop the creativity, the empathy, the leadership skills needed to be successful as practitioners, advocates, teachers, and thought leaders in the field of social work. You are graduating in an era of excitement and uncertainty, characterized by fast-paced technological changes, a strong but evolving knowledge-based economy, and an ever-changing political and social dynamic. You will likely see any number of large social, economic, and technological changes during your lifetime and during your careers, and these will most likely redefine your professional roles and lead to unforeseen opportunities. Your UB education has prepared you to be responsive to shifting trends and needs, to be flexible and able to apply your knowledge and skills in different ways, to meet challenges head-on and to take advantage of opportunities as they become available. These are the attributes that will assure your success in the future, no matter what it may bring. More importantly, your education has prepared you to be active and engaged citizens. Each of you has the capacity to change the world, and I urge you to take what you have learned and apply it to the betterment of society. My sincere and heartfelt congratulations to our 2017 University at Buffalo School of Social Work graduates. We are so proud of you and all of your achievements.
Provost Zakowski, Dean Smith, honored guests, family, staff, members of the graduating class, your friends and family, it is my pleasure to introduce this year's commencement speaker, Amy Fleischauer. Amy Fleischauer is one of us, a social worker having earned her MSW from Columbia University. Also, like many of us, her service to others and her commitment to social justice started before she had the degree. For Ms. Fleischauer, that included 2 years in the Jesuit Volunteer Corps in Northern California, working with youth recovering from addiction and gang involvement. Closer to home and in time, Ms. Fleischauer now serves Buffalo's communities, particularly those affected by human trafficking and domestic violence, in multiple ways. At the International Institute of Buffalo, she is the Director of Survivor Support Services. She co-facilitates the Western District of New York's Anti-Trafficking Task Force and is a member of Erie County's high-risk domestic violence team. Beyond our city, she is part of the New York Anti-Trafficking Network and has been an expert witness on domestic violence-related trauma in state-level criminal cases. She was appointed by Governor Cuomo to represent immigrant victim services on the New York State Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. That term just ended, but taking its place, and so she doesn't get bored, right, is a position on the New York State Office of Victim Services Advisory Council. And even further, beyond state lines, Ms. Fleischauer is a board member of Freedom Network USA and is the Quality Support Specialist for the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants Trafficking Victim Assistance Programs, which works with nearly 200 organizations across 39 states to ensure quality of care and services provided to foreign-born survivors of human trafficking. She conducts trainings nationwide on trauma-informed services and care in victim services programs and is a consultant to the Department of Justice Office of Victims of Crime Training and Technical Assistance Center. In recognition of her longstanding dedication and contributions, Ms. Fleischauer has been honored with the Erie County Coalition Against Family Violence Sister Karen Klimchuk Peace and Justice Award, the Canisius College Women and Gender Studies Joan Lorch Award, the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo's Norman Goldfarb Award, and the 2010 National FBI Directors Community Leadership Award. Welcome.
I was just reminded that when I received that FBI award, it was Robert Mueller who gave that to me, and I received a couple weeks later about 15 copies of glossy 8x10s of him and I shaking hands, which I now attach to the head of my grant proposals. I feel like that helps. Good morning. Provost Sikowskis, Dean Smith, faculty and staff of the UB School of Social Work, GSA student leaders, and to you, the graduates, thank you. I am indeed all the things that speakers say they are when they start these speeches. It's cliche, but it is true. I am honored and humbled, and a bit overwhelmed with the task at hand. Admittedly, my first draft for this speech was titled, "How can we possibly keep going in these crazy times?" Don't worry, this is at least my 10th draft. We have hosted MSW students at the International Institute of Buffalo for as long as I've worked there. You, graduates, may remember that your learning contract, yes, I read it, lists the following as one of its objectives. The student will engage in continuous self-reflection, self-regulation, and self-correction in practice situations to ensure linkages among social work ethics, the core values of trauma-informed care, and universal human rights. When meeting with our assigned student at the beginning of each practice year, I highlight this objective of continuous self-reflection as one of the most important responsibilities tasked to you as students. As a professional, I also have found that consistent self-reflection is integral to excellence in social work practice. Our current political climate has provided ample opportunity for reflection, and chocolate, and wine, and perhaps the occasional yelling in response to New York Times alerts on my phone. My staff might say that my yelling is maybe, just maybe, more than occasional. While many of us have experienced surprise, frustration, and even fear in the months following the election, I've also found amongst my colleagues and within myself an eagerness to use this time as an opportunity to think deeply about where and how we can be most effective in this new reality. What is the role of social work as a field, and what is my role as a social worker in this time and place within our community, our country, and our world? There are many creative and exciting answers to these challenging questions. My own answers remain in the development stage, but this morning I share with you some tidbits of my own reflections as one dedicated to universal human rights in my practice and in my life. As social workers, we hold many identities. We are problem solvers, organizers, social change agents, advocates, researchers, mediators, managers, evaluators. Yet I believe now, perhaps more than ever, these roles, these positions, these titles can only have integrity when with one adjective preceding those identifiers. Now, more than ever, I believe that we must exhibit compassion in our work. That now, more than ever, the problem-solving, advocacy, social change agenting means nothing without first feeling, showing, and even institutionalizing compassion. Several years ago, we were working with a Nepali refugee who sought services at the Institute due to violence within her marriage. Goma was a young mother and arrived with her family to Buffalo from a refugee camp less than a year before coming to our program. She described a concerning level of violence perpetrated by her husband against her. Just as troubling was her total lack of support and resources. So, we went to work. Utilizing an interpreter, we provided education to Goma on her rights as a woman in the United States. We gave her an overview of all the services available to her. We talked to her about her rights as a victim of crime. A pattern quickly developed in that Goma would engage with us in bursts, calling or meeting with us 3 to 4 times a week for a few months, and then stopping suddenly without any contact for a while, only to re-engage in intensive case management a few months later. Over the span of 3 years, we assisted Goma in filing numerous orders of protection, which she always withdrew soon after. We helped her access emergency shelter with her children, which she would leave within days. We purchased her phones for safety, bus tokens, safety planned, made referrals, and even once assisted her in filing for divorce. We were advocates, supports, champions, and then seemingly out of nowhere, nothing. We felt frustrated about the amount of time, energy, and funding we were putting into Goma's case with seemingly few results. We felt confused about her decision-making. Sometimes we even felt scared for her safety. Yet, in large part, due to our now internalized trauma-informed care, each time Goma reemerged, our staff greeted her with delight, welcoming her back with open arms, open doors, helping her with whatever she needed. Because of the trust that eventually developed between Goma and our staff, the domestic violence advocate was able to address this pattern with her, asking her if there was anything she needed that would help her be more consistent with services and leave the abusive relationship for good. She looked surprised by the question, but then answered in the most matter-of-fact way, "Oh, well, I get scared whenever you ask me about my children and their safety. Everyone knows about CPS and how they inject children with a liquid that makes them forget their parents." Apparently, this lie, likely spread by perpetrators within the Nepali community, was so deeply understood, was such an of course in her circles, that Goma felt safer in her own abusive home than she did engaging with us. It is an essential tenet of Buddhism that we can begin to change the world by first changing how we look at the world. Put another way, we stop asking what's wrong with you and start asking what happened to you. Greg Boyle is a Jesuit priest who founded the organization Homeboy Industries, which works with ex-gang members in Los Angeles. he has a unique way of describing this core of trauma-informed care. He says this: "Here is what we seek, a compassion that can stand in awe at what the poor have to carry, rather than stand in judgment of how they carry it." I have worked on countless grants and contracts in my career as a social worker. I have never been asked to provide data on outcomes regarding the number of human trafficking survivors I have created choices for, or how many times our staff has been able to earn the trust of a client, or how many times per day we stand in awe at what refugees and immigrants have to carry. But without compassion, without delight, without standing in awe instead of judgment, we will never, ever get the opportunity to advocate, problem solve, or case manage toward an identified outcome. We cannot simply ask on our intake forms, "Please list all the lies that your abuser has told you and the ways in which your trauma has affected your life." We would never get anywhere. The only way we can get to the why and eventually the how is through the hallway of compassion. Let me be clear, compassion is not about being nice. It's not about being soft. Compassion is a courageous and complicated decision to view the world in a different way. Over the span of my career, I have had the great honor of working with gang members, alcoholics, juvenile offenders, and teen moms. And as was mentioned, I currently work with survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. Many of them are immigrants. Many of them are undocumented. Many are sex workers, or farm workers, or addicted to heroin. Many are all of these things. They are called illegals, or hookers, or addicts, and sometimes they are called much worse than that. But in society's treatment of them, what they are actually being called is unimportant. I think Mother Teresa was right when she said that all social ills exist simply because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Compassion stands in contrast to that. Compassion challenges the unsaid but clearly understood reality of our times that some lives matter less than other lives. And of course, compassion is not enough. You have spent the last years studying, evaluating, and practicing the skills that come next. As you go into the world, I will challenge you to not only be a skilled evaluator, but also a compassionate evaluator, to practice compassionate engagement, compassionate assessments, and compassionate interventions. In his memoirs, Greg Boyle, again, he's one of my people, describes an encounter with a client that might ring familiar to us all. He writes, "On Mondays, I always have a packed schedule. I begin the day with saying Mass at the local juvenile detention center, and then I have a narrow window of half an hour between morning Mass and our weekly management meeting. One Monday, I used this time to stop by the office to go through the day's mail. I'm not there 15 minutes when a woman walks through the door. I immediately glance at the clock hanging on the wall. I check how much time I have left before my meeting, and I'm already lamenting that I most likely won't get through all the mail. I find out later that this woman's name is Carmen. She's a recognizable figure from the neighborhood, and yet this is her first visit to our office. Today is the day she chooses." I glance at the clock again. Carmen is a heroin addict, a gang member, a street person, an occasional sex worker, and a champion hothead. She's often defiantly storming down the street, usually shouting at someone. I've heard her a number of times arguing loudly on a phone with relatives or friends. "Just let me stay tonight." Now I have 7 minutes until my meeting. It is difficult to know how exactly old she is, as her face and body are worn by years of heroin and street life. She plops herself into a chair in my office and cuts the fat out of her introductory remarks. "I need help." She launches right in, brash, and something of a no-shit sister. "Ooh," she says, "I've been to like 50 rehabs. I'm known all over, nationwide." She smiles. Her eyes wander around my office while continuing the stream of consciousness. The others will arrive in 5 minutes for my meeting. I went to private school all my life. In fact, I graduated from high school even. In fact, right after graduation is when I started to use heroin. Carmen enters some kind of trance at this point, and her speech slows to deliberate and halting. And I have been trying to stop since the moment I began. Then I watch as Carmen tilts her head back until it meets the wall, and she stares at the ceiling. In an instant, her eyes become these 2 ponds, water rising to meeting their edges, swollen banks spilling over. Then for the first time, really, she looks at me and she straightens. I am a disgrace. Suddenly, her shame meets mine, for when Carmen walked through the door, I had mistaken her for an interruption. This story is Greg Boyle's story, but on more days than I'd like to admit, this has been my story, and perhaps it has been yours. But it's not a story of lacking. It's a story of opportunity. Compassion is not just something we must exhibit toward our clients. Compassion is something we must extend toward ourselves. It's a bonus, really, when we realize, as in stories like Carmen's, that our clients have to exhibit endless compassion toward us, the helpers, as we learn from our own missteps in our work and in our practice. Continuous self-reflection, self-regulation, and self-correction. This is indeed a confusing time. Our president called the Syrian government's attack on its people an affront to humanity, while simultaneously slashing programs that allow those very children to escape their government and come to the US as refugees. Our vice president cites his devotion to his wife and family as a primary indicator of his devout Christianity, while simultaneously leading the charge to block the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. The administration has established a new commission on combating the opioid crisis, while simultaneously pushing a health care plan that does not include insurance for treatment. There is much work to do. And I cannot tell you what else is ahead. I cannot tell you what New York Times alert awaits us next. But I'd like to say that compassion will be the only way through it. To conclude, I'll once again go back to Greg Boyle's words. There is no us and them. There is only us. No daylight to separate us. Soon we imagine this circle of compassion. We imagine no one standing outside of that circle, moving ourselves closer to the margins so that the margins themselves will be erased. We stand there with those whose dignity has been denied. We locate ourselves with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless. At the edges, we join the easily despised and the readily left out. We stand with the demonizing so that the demonizing will stop. We stand with the belligerent, the surly, and the badly behaved until bad behavior is recognized for the language it is, the vocabulary of the deeply wounded and of those whose burdens are more than they can bear. We situate ourselves right next to the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. Class of 2017, congratulations. Let us stand in awe together. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And it is with pleasure that I introduce Victoria Rader, the Vice President of this year's School of Social Work Graduate Association.
Thank you. On behalf of the class of 2017, I would like to thank Dean Smith, distinguished professors, esteemed faculty, and the dedicated staff of the University at Buffalo School of Social Work for helping us get here today. It is impossible for us to properly express our thanks and gratitude for all the work that you've done for us. I would also like to welcome and thank our family, friends, and loved ones, without whom none of this would be possible. You have provided us with strength and encouragement throughout the years, and for that, we are forever indebted. On the first day that I stepped onto this campus for class, I felt a mixture of excitement and terror. I had heard stories of tough professors who like to make people cry, an impossible workload, and unreasonable deadlines. Not only have I found these stories to be untrue, but I have found many of those professors would become my greatest mentors and even my friends. They've been flexible, understanding, and clear about their expectations. I wish I could go back and tell myself to relax and dive in, for it's all going to be all right. To my fellow graduates, we have all accomplished an amazing feat. From the classroom to field placements, from volunteer work to student government, we've pushed ourselves to learn and grow. And I know that each and every one of us has grown in ways that we never could have imagined before we began this program. I myself have found an inner confidence that I did not know existed. I watched many of you challenge your own beliefs and incorporate new ideas into your world when your previous assumptions were questioned, most of these new ideas having been brought to the table by your fellow students. It is this growth that makes social work possible. Over the years, we've laughed, we've cried, we've called and texted each other in caffeine-induced frenzies looking for reassurance that we'll get our papers done on time. We've practiced self-care after having it drilled into our head from professors, sometimes not enough, and other times maybe just a little bit too much. We've relied on each other throughout the course of our time in this program, and I encourage you to continue relying on each other as you navigate your career and life in the world of social work. We are no longer fellow students, but colleagues and coworkers. Use each other, learn from each other, and continue to support each other. This work is not easy, but it's valuable and necessary. Some of us know just how valuable social work is from our own personal experience prior to entering the program, while others have gotten a taste in the classroom or within our field placements. I encourage you to savor every little bit of success that you achieve and recall those moments when things get a little overwhelming. Engage in healthy self-care and do not forget to advocate for yourself, for self-advocacy is vital to your health and success. As Professor Sue Green has said to my interventions classes on more than one occasion, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. I ask you all to remember this, not only for your own sake, but for the sake of your clients. Keep your minds open, for that's the key to learning. Think critically, for that is the key to growing. And seek out the truth. Remember that the truth may have multiple facets. When I look around this room, I see the faces of people I've learned so much from. I'm honored to call you my colleagues, and I look forward to working with you in the future. I would like to congratulate all of you on this wonderful accomplishment. I would like to thank you all for allowing me to serve as the Vice President for the School of Social Work Graduate Student Association. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Finally, I would like to leave you with a quote from my favorite fictional educator, Mr. Feeney. Believe in yourselves, dream, try, do good. Thank you. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce my fellow graduate student officers in the School of Social Work. Connor Walters, President, Sarah Alpert, Treasurer. Please join me in presenting this year's Faculty and Staff Awards.
Hello, thank you. It is with great pleasure that oh, that's the wrong line. On behalf of the graduating class of 2017 and the GSA, we, the officers of the Graduate School of Social Work, present Sue Green with the Faculty of the Year Award.
everybody. On behalf of the graduating class of 2017 and the GSA, we, the officers of the Graduate School of Social Work, present Kathy D. Machowski with the Staff of the Year Award.
On behalf of the graduating class of 2017 and the GSA, we, the officers of the Graduate School of Social Work, present Brad Lynn with the Adjunct Faculty of the Year Award. Unfortunately, Brad is not here to accept the awards. We will be accepting it on his behalf.